Farouq's birthday, the little elephant. Max is running for a train again. Through the passageways of this cobbled part of the city and short reclaimed roads that go through tunnels under the railway lines, with newsagents that sell snacks for presumed office workers that must lurk in the higher levels when it's work time. Each little shopfront is like a pocket in an old pair of trousers found on a market stall. A small musty opening, and if you put your hand inside you find that pockets used to be smaller, and then you wonder what the previous owners may have kept in there. Chewing gum and maybe tickets for events or prizes that fade into city air. Max seems to have only a vague direction in mind, this way, and as we try to keep up, hurrying past people out for a stroll or on their way to do things, coats and hats, among the piled buildings, new and old, occasional wet on stones and corners, sometimes light sparkle in oily puddles down here, where rain gathers more than sun. Little gatherings like quiet guided tours. Bicycles. We hurry under bridges of blackened brick, doorways to clubs and museums, or just blackness. Max, running ahead, calls back, "We might catch the 7:35, which seems unlikely as it's 7:33 by my reckoning, and we cannot even see a station, despite the many train lines rattling away above our heads. Max asks a man if the 7:35 has gone yet, and the man, under a white moustache, says he doesn't know. "I'll be late for school again," says Max despondently, a bit worried about what his mum will say. He's often late. The trains are complicated, and it's a long run to the station from his family's flat, and they keep changing the train times, and the trains never run on time anyway. I've no idea why he thinks he's going to school. It's years since he went, and I'm pretty sure he didn't even live here. There must be at least 3 station entrances within a few minutes' walk if we would just stop running and work out where we're supposed to go, or why. Max does this sometimes, believing he's late for school, and it must be confusing considering how the city changes so much, even in a short time. He never asks our opinion of how to get to the trains, which makes sense since we don't know either. We have never found one. The place must have changed so much since he was a kid. And then I remember, "Hey, you never got a train anyway, you took a bus to school, you told me about it." It was somewhere else entirely. In fact, I don't think he ever lived in the city. Max stops running. "I know," he says. He looks down, kind of humble. "This is the only way I can think of how to get there." Paolo and I look at each other. We want to hold him, but it's like he is in a spell, and the shell could be fragile. Paolo asks, "Where are we going?" I like Paolo lots. He could have said, "Where are you trying to get to?" But he knows how hope works. He's learnt it from necessity and shares it gently, with generosity. I'm not sure it's even 7:35 in the morning. It looks more like evening, though it's impossible to tell down here, deep in the vertical shadows of what has since grown, where streetlights are needed most of the day, most of the year. Air moves little, and sometimes feels as thick as a roof. Max says he needs to hurry to get there. This is how he found the place last time. What, by dashing around? Yes, I was late for something, lost and running, and I bumped into it by accident. It was a few years ago. I can't remember what I was doing or who I was with, but we were dashing about, trying to get somewhere, and we found this. Max has been pretending he was going to school, going to be late again, convincing himself, as the clearest memory he has to stimulate that sensation of running through crowds and areas which are unclear of scale and purpose, to someone, a soul who sometimes wishes to feel, to know they are growing, through this thick air that stews in the level above the cobbles. "What is it?" I ask. "What are you looking for?" But Max sees his friend Marcos up ahead, and they start walking together. "This is where those nice pubs are." Amber glow ahead, from dark wood pub fronts. Some of their entrances are up steps, all beside the tall wall of a train line that curves to make a sort of enclave, like a pirate bay, with dark paths which, I think, lead off to the theatre district. I see the pub that does those really brilliant beers, rich and all the flavours. Paolo knows it too, with the small counter on the left and all that glassware behind the till display. He points to the right, up some wooden steps, to more amber glow, as we go past, and says, "And there's that other one." He's right, that's the pub that's bigger and quite similar in character, and we could never remember clearly which was which, and now I kind of understand Max, because often we ended up in one or the other because we couldn't find the one we were looking for. We see the painted sign hanging high above its entrance, the star. Max is hurrying with Marcos now, and we keep up. There will be another just after the 7:35, he calls. A few people look, and a few even start hurrying, as if the train is real. Maybe it is. Marcos says goodbye. He has to be somewhere, which may apply to most situations. I don't know Marcos much, but I get the impression that some time ago he took a different train. Paolo and I catch up with Max under dim streetlight, near some more immensely tall black-painted brickwork that reaches up from Victorian times, out of sight, higher than the streetlight glow. I ask Max again where we're going. He says it's Farouq's birthday. I ask him who Farouq is. It's someone he met 9 years ago at a festival. And do you still keep in touch? He says no. He barely knew her at the festival. He just saw a photo recently which reminded him of someone at that festival, and then he remembered Farouq. I ask what she was like, and he says she was like a wooden string puppet. Someone else had even made an actual wooden puppet of her, but the thing is, they didn't know they had. They had made a real puppet, and it looked like her. Black strings and features on pale wood. It looked uncannily like her. He suspects that Farouq knew. Nobody else had spotted it. That's what he remembers of Farouq. There's still a photo of the puppet somewhere. He's not sure her name was really Farouq. Probably wasn't. But it was something like that. And then one day, a few years ago, when he was running about in this part of town, he found a birthday celebration that sounded like it was dedicated to her, or to someone named Farouq anyway, and that's what he's looking for. It happened somewhere in the city today, near here. It has a little elephant. What? There's this elephant. It's brilliant. It's a puppet itself, a small elephant, all in black, that tows a chariot or cart. A woman in black rides it and sort of directs it. The elephant is made of metal rods and some smooth coverings. He's a little black elephant pulling a small cart through the streets. He has a little trunk that moves up and down. He's quite lifelike. Heavy, solid, soft feet with thick plastic pads that gently stomp along. I think there's sort of pedals for the cartwheels, and they somehow link the elephant. I don't know how it's done. He's a bit like Farouq in some ways. This year, there are sort of instructions to get to it. I used to meet somewhere up here, but some of the stops have changed. The shops are different. It's difficult to find, probably deliberately. There's this place where I was expecting to meet someone there. One of the shops got pulled down, and the instruction for the birthday is... And he unfolds a scrap of paper, where is written in biro something along the lines of, at the tip between, a couple of things that are difficult to read, that look like names of shops. They're calling the location a rubbish tip, and are holding it there. I really like the hope and honesty of holding a birthday celebration at a rubbish tip. We are now in a quietish passageway beside some dark glazed closed shop fronts, and Max feels we are close. Behind us, there is a mechanical pumping sound, like a steam engine, rhythm, and some flames shine off the darkly vacant shop window panels, scattering orange flickers onto the oiled black metal and roadstone. A little mechanical elephant walks past us. Behind it, there is an open carriage with a woman in black wearing a tall headdress which covers much of her face in a long thin riding crop that she waves in the air to help signal that folk should clear the way. I wonder whether we found it, or it found us, either through our hurrying, or by discussing the thing itself so that we could find it rationally or summon it. Paolo looks at me as if he knows what I'm thinking, and he knows it is all of these. It needed Max and me to find it. We probably need each other more than we could ever say. We try to squeeze past the little elephant plodding along so that we can get ahead, be ready in place by the tip where the procession gets there. The street narrows, and it's a bit tricky to get past, but we each find a moment to nip past the elephant's little flanks, and we head off up a pathway to the right, between more dark shop windows, up a slope, to where some more fireglow flickers, and where it feels right. Torches are lined up. It's dark now. People are holding them, and there's a sloping open area, small angles and curves in a contained closed shopping parade, deep in the city, as if partly underground. It turns out Farouq isn't coming, can't make it. Max has just heard this news. He's a little disappointed, but not surprised. We can still celebrate. There is a shop front on the corner ahead of us, and another near us to the left, and between their glazings is the gap, a bit which has been pulled down, filled with rubble. Its pale concrete plaster make it the brightest part of this whole area, exposed in a mess of huge chunks of boulders with twisted spikes of iron reinforcing rods. I have no idea how the building layers above are still being held up, but I guess it's just like a single cell coming down within a large body, the rest of them still supporting everything around and above from all sides. Little crumbled concrete won't make a difference. Farouq never shows up. At any rate, there is nobody who this is event is focused on. Most of the folk here are quite young. Some of them are laughing. One is practicing fire juggling. Lots of sharing of drink bottles, smokes and makeup. A couple of Day of the Dead eyes and painted jaws with grins beneath. The elephant arrives and slowly turns into the clearing, then curves around in an arc so that she can turn towards the tip, lined up to take a straight walk through the two lines of people who have made a fire passageway for it, and resplendently onto the pale rubble. The elephant looks more real now. There is less metal mechanism on view, and more of the black plasticish skin that moves realistically. The skin folds as legs move. Eyes look around. She's a happy little elephant. By comparison, the rubble seems quite huge. Farouq is anyone you might want to remember, and everyone. We all have Farouqs, still alive through this. There are no traces in my hands of having touched the dry grass near where the guy pulled out the wooden puppet under the sun. Did the lost building fall, or was it demolished? The crumbling. Can our little elephant walk over it? Max once heard it as Farouq's birthday, but he figures he may have misheard the name and the bit about birthday. A part of being. No one knows what this thing is about, the whole thing we're in, if it was ever about anything. The elephant approaches a ramp of dusty scaffold boards, up onto the chunks of pale stone. This procession, this city, this celebration. I knew someone called Farouq too. Well, not actually Farouq. We nomads under bridges and wrapped in stone. The elephant walks up onto the huge rubble. Soft pads make solidly confident sounds, and she smiles as she goes, the carriage woman waving and smiling too, the joy of teeth and painted mouth under her mask, with eyes sparkling through. In my head, fallen rubble, shop fronts, closed memories. Will they ever open again, or will a new shop grow? Another birthday. Another yes.